Hello, chemistry students, and welcome to this video on predicting if a single replacement reaction will occur. So to give you some context on where we are in the midst of Honors Chem 1, we have already done introductory materials. So we've taught you how to balance equations, identify types of reactions in assigned physical states, and we've moved on and we've done some stoichiometry with Manny's universe and limiting reactant problems. You're in the midst of practicing limiting reactant problems right now. And so kind of while you do that, we're going to revisit two types of reactions, single replacement, double replacement reactions, to see if they occur or not. Because not every time you mix elements together or compounds together in lab will the reaction happen. Now, kind of an interesting side note, I guess, is that our next topic is redox reactions. And what we will find is that single replacement reactions actually also can be categorized as redox reactions, but more about that later. So one thing I also want to point out is our objective sheet. If you in Honors Chem 1, if you have not looked at the objective sheet at all this unit, I recommend that you do so. It is considered your study guide. So we are right here on objective number 8. We have certainly covered a lot of these objectives. You can go through, look through, and check off what we have covered, but this video is really dealing with objective 8, predicting if a single replacement reaction will occur using the activity series. So we're going to have to kind of show you how this works. So there is a corresponding notes worksheet for you. I'm going to cover a little bit of what's at the top of this worksheet in the first reaction here, but also do a lot of stuff that's not on the worksheet. So you're certainly going to want to have a place to record those notes. And you're also going to need all the stuff that you normally need for writing out chemical reactions. So periodic table, solubility chart, those sorts of things would be very handy to have. Okay, so gather your materials and then we will get started here. So for predicting if a reaction occurs, for single replacement, it revolves around this thing called the activity series. It says if the lone metal is higher on the activity series than the metal cation in the compound, then the reaction occurs. Why? Well, it's based on something like reactivity. So let's actually kind of back up here and talk about this. So kind of an example of a single replacement reaction for single replacement is that you end up with some sort of element plus some sort of compound. And then on the other side, it'll give you an element plus a compound. So if we are going to look at this here, let's do magnesium and copper 2 chloride. So that would be CuCl2. And magnesium is in its elemental form, so it's a solid. We are going to assume all of these occur in water for these single replacement reactions. So this is, of course, aqueous. So what we have happening here is that we have magnesium that is in its elemental form. So this is an atom. It has 0 charge to it. But copper here is the cation, and it has a +2 charge. So what we have happening here is magnesium is trying to come in, and it's trying to itself become the cation and force copper to come and be an atom. And kind of the question is it able to do that? That's what the activity series is trying to help us understand. Really, the activity series, it says activity, but it's really, I would like to call it the reactivity series because it's based on that the elements at the top are the most reactive, the elements at the bottom are least reactive. And when we say most reactive and least reactive, what we really are saying is that if you are a reactive metal, you actually prefer to be a cation. And if you are a lesser reactive, you don't mind being a cation, but you are okay not remaining an atom. Remember, cations, metals are cations. Metals like to lose their electrons. They like to become cations. So that's kind of what is happening here with our activity series. So when we're trying to do a single replacement reaction, what we're really trying to ask ourselves is, does the element that is the atom, does it have a stronger desire to be a cation than the one that is in the compound? And that's what this is listing for us. It should be no surprise to you if you kind of look through the activity series here that at the very top, our most reactive, most active metals are 2 alkali metals, lithium and potassium. We also see sodium up here near the top as well. If you remember back to Unit 4, we mentioned that these, by periodic group trends, that alkali metals group 1 have 1 valence electron. They very readily want to lose that valence electron to become a cation. And so not a surprise that they're up here near the top on the activity series, and they are going to have a stronger ability to form compounds than ones here at the bottom. If you actually look down here at the bottom, you see metals like silver and copper. And these are actually metals that, yes, they do form compounds. There are compounds involving silver, there are compounds involving copper, but in your everyday life, you actually see them more often as their metallic form, as their atom form. Like we make jewelry out of silver. Why do we make jewelry out of silver? Because it's very stable as an atom. It doesn't react and form compounds as much. And that's part of what makes it good for jewelry. And copper, same thing for making wire out of it and such. So that's kind of your background to the activity series. I do want to note one thing. There is one thing on our activity series here that is not a metal. That would be hydrogen. Might be asking yourself, why in the world is hydrogen on our activity series of metal? Well, again, if you remember where hydrogen is located on the periodic table, it is located in group 1. And the reason is it has one valence electron and does like to form a +1 ion. So in these cases for single replacement reactions, we're going to kind of treat hydrogen as, its ability to want to be that cation. Now, there also is an exception here with hydrogen. You see the little asterisk there that says that metals from lithium to sodium will replace hydrogen from acids and waters. This only pertains to hydrogen. So if you are lithium through sodium, you can kick out the hydrogen from acids and water, because these elements have just enough reactivity to do that. But if you are magnesium to lead, then you will only be able to replace hydrogen from acids only. So you want to pay attention to that note. Okay. And then of course, anything below hydrogen here, these guys won't have any reaction with hydrogen at all. Because remember, if you're lower on the activity series, then the reaction does not occur. So that's kind of a little bit of an introduction to what the activity series is. Now let's actually apply it to predicting if several different reactions will occur. So we have a first one here. I actually already started this one for you. Magnesium plus copper 2 chloride or cupric chloride. Remember, the ic refers to copper 2 because the ic is the higher of the two charges that copper comes. Copper is +1 +2. So writing out our formulas here, assuming that water is present. So I'll just put an H2O over the arrow here. And we already had looked at this one and we said, yes, magnesium is certainly higher on the activity series than copper. So this is a reaction that can occur. And so if it does occur, we want to certainly write what our products are. So what we're going to have happen here is we're going to have copper come out as a metal and as an atom. So if it's an atom, it does not have a charge. So this is going to be copper, just solid copper. Okay. No metals will be dissolved in water. No metals here will be aqueous. They will all be solids with the exception of mercury. If mercury is present, it'll be a liquid because that's what it is on the periodic table. Remember, you're looking at the periodic table to get the physical states of the metals. Now, magnesium is going to form the compound. So we want to do here when we actually write our compound is you do not want to just transfer the subscripts. You don't want to just take the 2 here on the Cl2 and assume it's going to transfer over. No, you're writing an ionic compound. You want to actually consider what charges things like to form. So chlorine forms a -1 charge, magnesium forms a +2 charge. So we will need to take the chlorine twice for our compound. So the formula for the compound that's formed between magnesium and chlorine will be magnesium with chlorine, with 2 chlorines in it. But that's because of the ions, not because of just transferring subscripts. And then we do want to put physical states on here. Magnesium chloride, that is going to be aqueous. That will dissolve in water. The last thing you want to do if the reaction occurs, you want to balance it. So you want to double check, is this balanced? So I see 1 magnesium, 1 copper, 2 chlorine, 2 chlorine. So this one comes already balanced. We don't need to do anything else. I prefer, I'd like you to write if the reaction occurs or not. Different chemistry teachers may have some different preferences on that, but I do like to write that down. Okay, now let's take a look at our at water, that kind of special case situation here with water. So magnesium plus water. Now, I recommend on these single replacement reactions, you're familiar with water as H2O. I think you're going to want to, on the single replacement reactions, think of water not as H2O, but as something called HOH. And you can certainly write it as H2O, but I think if you look at it as HOH, it actually can make balancing easier. And from a conceptual approach, it actually kind of works. The idea here is that the way water is reacting, it's reacting almost as if it is an ionic compound. Of course, you know that water is not an ionic compound, that is a molecular compound, but it is an extremely polar molecular compound. So it does have some ionic properties to it. We've mentioned that to you before. That's part of where the idea of hydrogen bonding comes from. So in this case, what would happen is if the reaction does occur, and how it's going to react is it's not going to kick out both hydrogens. It's going to you're going to only have like one hydrogen behaving as the cation here, and then you're going to have the rest of the compound behaving as if it's made up of the hydroxide ion. So that's one reason why I recommend on the single replacement reactions here that you kind of consider water as hydrogen hydroxide in a way, or HOH. So, if you do that, it's going to be a liquid, and or it will always be a liquid. Do not give me aqueous water for these. But so the question is this reaction going to occur? So let's take a look here on our activity series. And so we're having magnesium replacing hydrogen. So yes, it's higher, but the note down here. Metals from magnesium to lead will replace hydrogen from acids only. So this, because it is water, this is a case of no reaction. I actually like to write it as no reaction's fine. I use abbreviation RXN. Some teachers will have you just put an X here over the arrow, but some way of indicating that you know that no reaction is going to occur. If no reaction occurs, you do not need to write the rest of the reaction out because it's not happening. So that's good enough. All right, now let's actually show you an example of a reaction that does occur with water and how to handle kind of this HOH thing. So here's one that's probably not going to be surprising to you, sodium plus water. If you look here, sodium is higher than hydrogen, and it's not one of these, exceptions. It's metals from lithium to sodium will replace hydrogen, acid, and water. So this is a case of, yes, where the reaction will occur. So now we're going to need to write it out. So we're going to have sodium, and that is going to be a solid plus water. And then what will happen here is sodium is going to come in and it is going to replace just this hydrogen. And so you're going to have hydrogen coming out and being in its elemental form. If it's in its elemental form, it will not be H+. Okay, because that is what it is pulling out of the compound. It will not be H+. What will happen is it will find another one, and of course, hydrogen being diatomic, it will come out as hydrogen gas, so that would be H2. And then we will have kind of the sodium wanting to form a compound with the hydroxide ion. Now, before we finish writing our formula, let's consider our charges. Sodium likes to be a +1 cation, so that's +1. Hydroxide is -1. So, yep, that is the charges are balanced out as is, so it would be sodium hydroxide. All right, want to put some physical states on here. So looking at our solubility chart, sodium hydroxide is soluble, so that is going to be aqueous, and hydrogen will be a gas. Now, balancing. Got to make sure that our equation here is balanced. So let's see. I see one sodium, we're okay there. I see one oxygen, we're okay there. Oh, but I see 3 hydrogens on this side and only 2 on this side. So what I will do is try to balance this out. So I've got 2 and I've got 3. So I want to make some adjustments here. Let's see. If I put a 2 in front of the sodium hydroxide. Then I'm going to need to put a 2 here. But that takes care of quite a bit. That means that I now have a total of 4 hydrogens on the product side, and I have now 4 hydrogens in my equation, 2 oxygens, and then I need a 2 here in front of the sodium. So we should be all balanced now. So at the end of the day, if the reaction occurs, this is exactly what we're looking for, a fully balanced equation with a physical state and everything. All right, let's do 2 more examples with you. Actually, why don't you pause the video and see if you can do these, and then when you come back, resume the video. Okay, so hopefully you work these out, and then you're coming back to check your answers. So we have aluminum plus sulfuric acid. Aluminum is a symbol is Al. Sulfuric acid, that is one of the acids we asked you to know at the beginning of this unit. H2SO4, and that is going to be aqueous. Acids are always aqueous. Now, question is this reaction going to occur? So let's look over at our activity series. And what I see here is I see aluminum, and again, the hydrogen from an acid. So yes, the reaction will occur because that's in the range where it will replace it within an acid, but not water. So we are going to form hydrogen gas. And it's going to be aluminum sulfate. So we want to certainly write out our formula here. So I've got aluminum and I've got the sulfate ion. Now, I don't want to assume that it's going to be one of one. I want to check out my oxidation states. So aluminum is going to form a +3 cation. Sulfate is a -2 anion. So I'm going to balance out my charges here. So I'm going to need to have 2 aluminums, and I'm going to need to take the sulfate 3 times and then put a physical state here. So this is going to be aluminum sulfate. Looking at the solubility chart. Yep, it is soluble, so this will be aqueous. Last thing, of course, is balancing our equation. Certainly need to put some coefficients in here. I'm going to put a 3 in front of the sulfuric acid to take care of the sulfate. I'm going to put a 2 in front of the aluminum, balance those out, and I think I will need a number in front of the hydrogen. I have a total of 6 here, so I'm going to need a 3 there, and now we should have a perfectly good and balanced equation. All right, last one here. Zinc plus calcium nitrate. Need to take the nitrate twice. Calcium is a +2 ion, and that should also be aqueous here. Now the question is, does our reaction occur? You can put H2 over there if you want for this. So does it occur? Let's see. Zinc is trying to, oh, nope. We're going up higher on the activity series. Something lower is trying to replace something higher. So this is a case of no reaction. Okay. I hope that you found these examples helpful. If you have a question, of course, please reach out. So what are you going to do from here? You are going to finish off this worksheet. I do want you to assume all reactions occur in water, please. And you know, if you have questions or need help, reach out, and there will probably be some way for you to check your answers. So stay tuned for that. And as always, happy learning.